Young, and I'm here today with Scott Oliver, and we're going to talk about cartel conduct.
So Harriet, what exactly is cartel conduct?
Well, the main form of cartel conduct that you see most commonly is price fixing. So that's when two businesses get together and they decide a price at which they're going to sell a good or a service. There's been some quite high profile price fixing cases which have both been within New Zealand and internationally, such as the air cargo price fixing cartel, where air freight services got together and put a surcharge on that they all agreed between one another, and worldwide penalties were up in the hundreds of millions of dollars. So there are some pretty serious penalties that can apply to cartel conduct.
How do these penalties come about?
So what happens is, in New Zealand, the Commerce Commission will investigate a cartel, and they will take action against cartels which they see as having harmed consumers or that have existed. And I mean, while harmed consumers is obviously something that the Commerce Commission is concerned about, it's not all about harm to consumers. All you need to do is prove the conduct. You don't have to actually prove the effect of it. So that's what we call per se illegal.
So how do these issues usually come to the attention of the Commerce Commission?
Well, there are a number of different ways, but the main way that it comes about is through the leniency program. So if a business is involved in a cartel activity, then they can come to the Commerce Commission and say, look, we've been involved in something that we shouldn't be involved in. And if they are the first person to come in and can provide material information to the Commission about the offence, then in most instances they will get off scot-free, so they will face no penalties, whereas the other party may face high penalties, millions of dollars worth of penalties. So leniency is invaluable, and it also puts a lot of pressure on cartels to destabilise them, because if both parties know that they're doing something wrong and they know that one of them could go to the Commission and get off with no penalties, then it's very valuable. So it's a great tool that the Commission has to detect and deter cartel behaviour.
So it could be the case then that businesses are breaching the Commerce Act and they're completely unaware?
Absolutely. In many cases that I've seen and I've worked on, people had no idea that they were breaching the Commerce Act or that their behaviour was out of the ordinary. It's something that businesses really need to be careful of when they're interacting with their competitors, because any discussion that may affect price or quantity or quality or output can fall foul of the Commerce Act. So it's really important to be aware of obligations.
Okay. What sort of things should businesses be on the lookout for in trying to avoid these sorts of issues?
Any discussions with competitors should be done with caution. I think that's probably my strongest bit of advice. And obviously, when you want to be an effective competitor, you have to have some interaction with your competitors. But in saying that, legal advice should, in most instances, be sought in order to progress those conversations, particularly in the areas of forming a joint venture or a joint industry response. And often, we were talking before about when price fixing does arise in industries, and a lot of it is when an industry faces a price shock or a regulatory change, and they think, well, what do we do about this? Therefore, they put their heads together as an industry, and then they fall foul of the Commerce Act because they've come up with a common course of action.